Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Edmonton my friend, our leader, and the next Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Andrew Scheer.
Well, thank you very much. It is so great to be right here in Alberta. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I said this in Calgary just a couple weeks ago. I was out during the election campaign, the provincial election campaign, on a very snowy day in Calgary. And that was the last time I had been back since the election. And I can tell you that landing here in Alberta, after Jason Kenney has become Premier of this great province, there is a new air of optimism and hope thanks to his vision for this province. And Jason, we're watching you, Premier, Mr. Premier, we're watching you make all kinds of impressive and ambitious moves to restore the Alberta advantage for the hard-working people of this wonderful province. Congratulations on all the things you're doing. I want to thank all my colleagues for being here. I know there's some candidates in the room as well. I always love coming to Edmonton. I heard Garnet telling you a couple of stories from the leadership race from a couple of years ago. We were driving from Edmonton to Red Deer in his car. I don't know if he told this story, but the defrost wasn't working on his car in that cold winter day. And I had been flying around the country. I had been kind of run pretty ragged. And so he said, well, you just close your eyes for a few minutes, catch some sleep. I'll do all the driving, don't worry about it. But I kept getting woken up to the sound of scraping on the inside of the windshield, and so that he could see through it. I said, Garnet, I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep with you doing that. Not just because of the sound, but because of the intense fear I have that we're going to hit something or go off the road. But thanks very much for all my colleagues for being here. I'm here in Edmonton this weekend with my family. My wife Jill and my 5 kids are along for the trip. They're not here this evening. They're actually at the West Edmonton Mall tonight, taking in some of the fun there. Absolutely. Sometimes it's the biggest reaction I get when people do the introduction. Obviously, talking about some of the positions I've held, but the reaction to the fact that I have 5 children sometimes gets the biggest response, and sometimes the most amount of applause too. But and a lot of people stop me and say, "Well, that's ambitious, to have 5 kids, to be there for them as a father, and to take on this task. What's it like to have such a large family? What's it like to go from your 4th to your 5th and your 3rd to your 4th?" And I say, well, it's a lot different. When you have your first child, I know some parents in the room tonight might be able to relate with this, but when you have your first child, they drop their soother, you run it to the sink to run it under hot water to clean it all off. If any peep you hear while they're having a nap, you run into the room to check on it. You're constantly sterilizing everything and washing their hands. And when your 5th comes along, it's a little bit different. Someone asked me one time about bedtime routines, and I said, well, we have with Mary, it's pretty straightforward. We put her down in her crib, we turn a fan on in her room, we close her door, go into our room, close our door, turn a fan on in our room. And the person said, well, is she sleeping through the night? And I said, well, I don't know, but we are, so that's kind of the most important part. Now, friends, I wanted to address a few things tonight, and I want to start off by saying that I know that despite the good news provincially, there still is another piece to getting Alberta back on track, and there still is a lot of fear and anxiety in the province of Alberta. Alberta has been through some really tough times over the last few years, and just when you think you've seen the worst of it, Justin Trudeau comes along and kicks you when you're down. He kicks you when you're down when he starts apologizing for the great work you do in the natural resource sector. When he travels around the world on the cocktail circuit in Europe, promising to phase out the energy sector. That really stings, doesn't it? When he brings in the No More Pipelines bill, Bill C-69, making sure that there won't be another project built in this country, that does more than sting. That really hurts. When he brings in Bill C-48 as well, blocking Canada's exports of our natural resources, it must feel like he has a particular hatred for this province. But, you know, I want to start off by giving you a positive message. I'm a positive guy. I like to focus on good things. So I have a piece of really good news for everyone here tonight. On June 20th, the House of Commons sat for the very last time with Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister of Canada. And Alberta, you deserve better than what you've got. All Canadians deserve better, but perhaps no more so is that evident than right here at this period of time. And I'm here to tell you that better is on its way. Hope is on the horizon, and we know that Alberta always bounces back stronger and better than ever before. And under Justin Trudeau, things have changed, but not for the better. Families are working harder, but they're falling further and further behind. They're doing everything right, but they're getting a sense that their hopes and dreams and aspirations are slipping out of reach because of the type of government that Justin Trudeau is running. But there is a way to turn this around. And we know that the answer, we know as Conservatives, that the answer to that isn't more government. It's unleashing the power of hard-working individuals in this country. Canadians are the true drivers of prosperity and opportunity, not government. That is something that we all understand as Conservatives. And that is the big difference between Liberals and Conservatives. Liberals think that it's the government that creates opportunity, that creates prosperity, that lifts people out of poverty. We know that's not true. It's entrepreneurs. It's risk takers. It's people who get up a little bit earlier every morning so they can make sure that their children have what they need. And those are the very types of people that Justin Trudeau attacked and demonized with his unprecedented attack on small businesses. When he called small businesses and entrepreneurs tax cheats, we fought him every step of the way. We pushed back against those, and we were successful in blocking them. But make no mistake, if Justin Trudeau gets another 4 years, he will bring back those tax hikes after the next election, when he won't need your vote anymore, but he'll still need your money. Those tax hikes are coming back. We know that. That is why it is so essential that we elect a Conservative government this fall that puts money back in your pockets, not takes them to Ottawa. You know, under Justin Trudeau, Canada has become a country of no. A country of no. No to big nation-building projects. No to lifting people out of poverty. No to families working hard and reaching their goals. This has become a government and a country of no. No to standing up to those who attack our interests on the world stage. We need Canada to become a country of yes again. Yes to making sure that Alberta can get its natural resources to world markets and to other Canadian markets. Yes to big nation-building projects like pipelines that bring our country closer together and ensure that every Canadian can benefit from the economic activity that it creates. And yes to hard-working individuals and families who do everything right. Being able to keep more of their hard-earned money right in their pocket. That is what a Conservative vision for this country is all about. And when we talk about Canada becoming a country of no under Justin Trudeau, nowhere is that more evident in the natural resource sector and in our oil and gas sector. And I'm here to tell you tonight that unlike Justin Trudeau, I will be a proud champion for the oil and gas that the hardworking people of this province take out of the ground at the highest environmental standards in a country that respects the rule of law and where all Canadians benefit from that economic activity. Now, I've outlined a little bit about how we're going to do that. I've proposed a national energy corridor where we can get all the regulatory work done up front, where we can address all the environmental issues, where we can have meaningful and dynamic consultations with Indigenous Canadians, et où le Québec et les autres provinces pour transporter leur hydroélectricité. That is the type of thing that will do for Canada what the railways once did. linking coast to coast and region to region. But in the short term, we have an action plan to get pipelines built. Before that hard work even starts, we have a plan that will get pipelines built in this country again. And it includes a number of measures. First, we're going to get Indigenous consultations done properly up front by having a ministerial representative of the Minister of Indigenous Affairs. And we're going to repeal the No More Pipelines Bill, Bill C-69. And we're going to make some other changes to our approvals process. You know, I am proud. I celebrate the fact that we live in a country where people can have different points of view. People can disagree with me. People can disagree with each other. People can even take to the streets and protest, and they can write letters and petitions and letters to the editor. I'm glad and I celebrate and I recognize that we live in one of the greatest countries, we live in the greatest country in the world because we have that right. And so I respect people who don't support those pipelines. I respect them. I respect their opinion. And I respect their efforts. And when it does frustrate me a little bit, and I'm puzzled when I see them chaining themselves to trees or laying down in front of bulldozers on the West Coast, trying to block Canadian energy reaching other markets. And yet I don't see them lining up and down the St. Lawrence trying to block tanker after tanker of foreign oil coming into our markets. I don't understand that. But I celebrate the fact that we live in the kind of country where we can have those debates. But when it comes to the approvals process, I believe that those conversations, those debates, need to be had by Canadians and Canadians only. And that is why we will ban foreign-funded advocacy groups from using the approvals process just to block these important pipelines. Now, Justin Trudeau likes to tell everyone, likes to tell Canadians that everything is just going great. And you know what? Maybe in his world, it is. You see, he's never had to live with the consequences of poor government policy costing him. He's never had to worry about how he's going to pay with $2 a liter gasoline. He's never had that anxiety when a company is announcing layoffs. He's never had to deal with anything like that. And you know, the people in his world are probably doing very, very well indeed. Just ask the owners of Loblaws, a multi-billion-dollar family with a multi-billion-dollar company that got a check from your tax dollar to help them replace their fridges. I'm sure they think things are going great. Ask all the companies with the Prime Minister's office on speed dial that have special access to government policymakers to get special favors. I have no doubt that they think that things are going really well. But that's not who Conservatives fight for. We fight for everybody else. We felt for the strivers, the hardworking individuals and families, the people that don't have a government lobbyist, they just have their family's best interests at heart. That's who we're fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here for the parents who sit around the dinner table, like mine often did, wondering about how they're going to make it to the end of the month, whether or not they're going to have to put something off, like a family vacation, because they've got an unexpected bill. That's who Conservatives are standing up for, not the well-connected, not the privileged, the people who are doing everything right, working so hard. And we know that those people are the ones that are hit hardest by this Trudeau government. Under Justin Trudeau, more and more Canadians are falling behind. In fact, over 80% of Canadian families are paying higher taxes today than they did just 4 years ago. And over half of Canadians say that they're only $200 away from making ends meet at the end of the month. We are going to speak to their concerns, their anxieties, and give them hope for a better future, one where they can achieve their dreams and live out their aspirations. We're going to do that by running a government that lives within its means. Now let's not forget, As we approach the next election campaign, you need to remember this every time the Liberals make any announcement, any promise whatsoever. Because one of the most explicit promises that Justin Trudeau made when he stared the cameras right in the eye, and he made a firm and solemn promise. He said he was going to be as honest as he possibly could be. I don't know what that means. But he looked right down the barrel of a camera and he said that he would balance the budget that the budget would balance itself in 2019. That's what he said. That's what his promise was. Well, turns out that promise, like so many others, just not as advertised. More and more Canadians realizing what Justin Trudeau says is not what he delivers. And we know the cost of those massive deficits. Justin Trudeau has racked up over $70 billion of new debt. $70 billion of new debt that have to be paid back by current and future taxpayers. It's not fair. None of us would leave a bill to the next generation in our families. We should not allow a Liberal government to leave a giant bill to the next generation of Canadian taxpayers. Soon, because of all this new massive amounts of spending and debt, there will be more and more of your tax dollars going to just pay the service costs, the interest costs on that debt. That's money going to banks and bondholders. That's money that could be going to better services, better health care, or more money left in your pocket. But instead, it's going to all the people who own that government debt, and there are deficits projected as long as the eye can see under Justin Trudeau. Conservatives are going to change that. We are going to get back to balanced budgets over a responsible period of time so we can stop spending your money on interest payments and start putting that money into better services and into tax cuts to leave more money in your pocket. So we're going to live within our means so that we can leave more money in your pocket. Now, the first thing we're going to do, I think I just heard the Premier tease a little bit about that. The first thing that we are going to do to help address the cost of living crunch that is facing this country, and I just want to let all my members, all my colleagues and candidates, the first piece of legislation that you will be asked to vote on, and this was my idea, Mr. Premier. We agree on a lot of things, but we have an argument over this. But the first piece of legislation that my colleagues will be asked to vote on, and I know which way the Conservative members of Parliament are going to vote, will be a piece of legislation entitled An Act to Repeal the Carbon Tax. That's job number one. Never before in the history of our country has there been a tax that has cost so much and done so little, ladies and gentlemen. The worst tax in the history of taxes. We are going to repeal the carbon tax because we know it doesn't have any effect on making our environment better. It just costs you more and more money, driving up the cost of home heating, putting gas in your car, and the cost of everything else. I did an announcement on January 1st in Regina about the new carbon tax when it came into effect. I was standing in front of a whole bunch of lovely produce in a grocery store. And I'm willing to bet the same situation is here in Edmonton in the winter. None of those oranges, none of those apples, none of those tomatoes came from local farmers in January on the prairies. Those types of things have to get trucked in. This carbon tax makes all of that more expensive. That is one of the reasons why we will scrap it. But we're going to go even further. Even further. See, in Canada, the GST is not charged on things that are deemed to be necessities. So that's why you don't pay the GST on things like prescription drugs and groceries. Well, living on the prairies, I can attest to the fact that heating your home in the winter is not a luxury, it is a necessity. We will remove the GST from home energy bills. And where Justin Trudeau likes to, where Liberals have always fought against the principle of supporting parents directly, Conservatives and a Conservative government will recognize the sacrifice that new moms and dads make when they take those critical early months off to spend time with their children. You know, most hardworking moms and dads give up 45% of their salary when they go on maternity and parental leave. And the costs associated with having children, believe me, there are many. And so in order to acknowledge the sacrifice that people are already making when they give up 45% of their salary right at the time when they're incurring new costs like car seats and high chairs and diapers and backyardigans, DVDs, and maybe not DVDs anymore, I'm dating myself a little bit. It's maybe iTunes gift cards now. But in order to recognize all the costs that new families incur when they're having children, a Conservative government will make all maternity and parental leave benefits tax-free. And when it comes to addressing Canada's commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and protect our environment, we are going to introduce a series of innovative incentives to help Canadians reduce their emissions. That's why we are proposing a green home renovation tax credit that will help hardworking individuals and families replace their furnace, upgrade their windows, or improve their insulation so that they can have more money in their own pocket, not cost them extra dollars. That is our Conservative plan to help lower greenhouse gas emissions in this country. But unlike the Liberals who have put all their environmental eggs in the carbon tax basket, we're going to address other challenges that our natural environment faces. And that is why a Conservative government will do what the Liberals have failed to do for years and years. And we will finally, once and for all, put an end to towns and cities dumping raw sewage into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. So these are real proposals that will help Canadians get ahead, not just get by. We are going to ensure that a government actually does what it is meant to do. Be there to help support our innovators, our entrepreneurs, reward those who are doing everything right, working hard, getting a good job, sometimes 2 jobs, putting their kids through school. Those are the people that are being left behind in Justin Trudeau's Canada. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is clear, and the stage is set. We have a very clear contrast coming into the next election. We have a choice between a Prime Minister that will tear us down or one who will build us up. Where Trudeau will landlock Alberta's natural resources, I will unleash it and promote it around the world and within Canada. The world doesn't just need more Canadian energy, Canada needs more Canadian energy, and that's why we need to get Western Canadian oil and gas to Eastern Canadian markets. Where Justin Trudeau will abuse the power of his office to reward his friends and punish his enemies, I will restore ethics and integrity to government and shine a light on the scandals that have plagued this Liberal government. Where Trudeau is pushed around on the world stage, I will stand up for Canada and our interests and for Canadians who are being held abroad. Where he will say no to the big dreams, not just of this country, but of every single Canadian, I will say yes. And where he will cost you more, I will run a government that lives within its means to leave more money in your pocket to let you get ahead. That is the choice this October, and that is my positive Conservative vision that I am so excited to bring to Canadians this election. I know I can count on you. I know that all of us working together, we can and we will make sure that Justin Trudeau is a one-term Prime Minister. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.